Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and it's Nigel here, and it's a sort of sunny Friday afternoon here in Gloucester, and looking like it's going to be a nice week. So we might get some proper sandblasting and some painting work done and stuff. So still on this chassis, did some work on it yesterday, obviously off camera. You can't do everything on camera. It's, to be honest, it's a bit of a pain at times because it's nice to have the radio on the background and just work without having to worry about where the camera is and focusing and making sure as I'm not stood in the way and stuff. So yeah, so this brace has worked really well. Done a bit more cutting, done some work underneath, done a little bit of welding. So I'll show you where we are up to now, and then hopefully by the end of this video, my plan is to get this video done today. So whatever point I get to today will be where I stop. So hopefully we'll have one side finished. So let's go and have a look at what I've done. Okay, so here we go. As you can see, it's from the last video. We got the brace in place. Not really doing much now, to be honest, because what I did, it was a hell of a lot of tension, and I realised that this weld I talked about here that I have now cut out, that was actually really holding it back. So basically that just welds to this plate up inside here. Here we go with the bad filming again. Basically there's a gusset here running along the side of the chassis, and that welds to the inside of there. So, and it's welded from the inside. So where's my finger? It's welded from in here, so you can't get to it. So the only way is to cut it from the outside. That's pulled away probably no more than 1 millimetre, if that, and it's made all the difference in getting it straight. Before, when I was pulling it, I was ending up with a sort of, this area here was bowed in. Then what I found was when I pulled that out, I had this area here, sort of quite an angle change. So I cut this weld as well here. That's the other side. So I cut that weld as well, and you know, it's going to take a bit of repair, but we'll get there. And we've now got a very straight cross member. You can see I've gone in and tacked basically the areas where I can tack. So this is just basically tacking the top of the cross member to that inner plate. I've tacked down here, it's just tacking the cross member to the plate. There's a tack there in the corner, and you can see here when you look at this line, that was a straight cut line. You can see how much it's come over, how much it's tapered. That's how much it's come out. And then as we come over, we get more and more of a step to give us the straightness that we're after. So that's where the work's done there. And I've also done some work underneath. Let me go and turn this over and show you. Let's put you down over here. I'll just flip the chassis over. This is a godsend, this thing. Okay, just flip the chassis over there. And then I can show you the other side. If you remember, this is where we were, and I drilled out these circular welds here and then cut down the sides and everything, and you know, made a bit of a mess, to be honest. In hindsight, just cut across there. Literally leave all this alone. So on this side now, I've done some repair work, and you can see now welded up inside here. That's what we did last week. Well, the other day we welded that to the chassis, and then what I've done here is cut this section out where this is all like this, with this great big drilled hole and everything's a mess, and all the sheets have separated. I've actually cut it out, and I've got this. This is a these are great, these little things. I made these years ago, and these are really handy for holding sheet metal together. Basically got a piece of box section, a piece of flat with a square hole in it, and then a piece of square rod goes through. And then as you tighten that wing nut, it pulls that plate back, like so. Get some better light. Pulls that plate back and clamps the two sheets together. I'll show you again when I'm welding. So basically, what I've done here is, as I said, cut this out. So we've now got no more of this metal bumper here, or the cross member, should I say? And then in here, you can see this panel. Here, this goes up and folds over, and there's a series of spot welds along here, and then it goes along. So I've made this little piece here that goes in there, so I can weld that to the actual cross member and weld it to that bracket. There's also a piece here. You notice I leave gaps everywhere for the welding to improve the weld. This piece here is going to go in there, and then I'll dress that around, and it will form the end of this triangular section here, and then we'll weld that down on top, Okay, weld that just to the cross member, not weld it to this. And then this one here is going to go on top, like so. And again, we'll weld that to the cross member and not to this bracket. And then when we've got the cross member exactly where we want it, then we can weld around here and along the back there as it was standard. So I need to get the welder out, start doing some tacking. Okay, so there's the first stage. We've got this, remember I showed that little piece of angle that's cut, and that's in there now. So that's welded in. So now we've got to dress it up and make it look pretty. So let me get that done and I'll be back with some better lighting. And there we are, guys, all done and all dressed back, and I wouldn't say looking lovely, but it's certainly a lot better than it was. As I said, really the thing to do with this is save yourself a lot of time and heartache. And if you're going to do this, just literally cut along here, cut along there and down there, and you don't have to do any of what I'm doing now. So yeah, wish I'd done that at the start. And now that's done, we've got some Wild Through zinc primer on there, and then I've also put some Wild Through zinc primer on the back of it. Every little helps. And then that's going to go in that way round, and then what we're going to do is weld it to the chassis, out to the cross member only, not the chassis. So it'll still be free to move in and out, so we can get the straightness set and everything. But we're actually going to have this now welded to the chassis, and then we're going to weld it to the cross member, sorry, and then we're going to weld this also to the cross member, but not weld it to the chassis. So then we'll have these areas here left to weld once we've got everything nice and true. So I'm going to get on and get that done now, and then I'll be back. Right, so here we go. We can see that plate now is welded in there. I need to get some primer on it first, but before that I thought I'd show you these things in case you haven't seen them before. These are these panel clamps. So basically what I'm going to do is put that in there. Okay, just drop that in there loosely, and then this here will slide down into that gap, and I can get underneath, and I'm going to slide this square rod through. So there we go, that will go through there, he says. Okay, and I can just pull those panels together like so. Like that. Tighten that plate, and there we go, job done. That's held in place, and I know that it'll be flush on the top. So we could come along and tack there, and then just undo that, slide that out like so, and then with that tacked in place, that'll just slide out of the gap. Job done. And there we go, guys, that's it, all welded up. And remember, I've only welded to the cross member, not the chassis. You can see here, this is all still, you can see that's still free to move. And basically if I jack the cross member in and out, you can see it. You can see, if you watch it there, you can see it moving. So I can still get the cross member exactly where I want it before I tack it, and then I can check, because I think if I put a weld here, a nice solid weld there, I don't think it can move then. Once it's welded solidly to there, it can't actually move. So I think that's what we're going to do. So that's that side done. Sort of ready for welding in there, so it's going to look pretty much original when it's done. So got to do the other side, but I'm going to concentrate on the top on this side, get one side done at a time. So let's get the chassis turned over and see what we can do on the top. And there we go, flipped over. So I've basically got the cross member now jacked so that it's dead straight. Okay, and then I've given it a tiny little tweak just to push it out, just in case it pulls back. And I think what I'm going to do is concentrate on this area here, get this all welded up and finished before I move out here, and then basically slowly make my way out. And once I've already welded under there, I've welded this here, so basically now this bracket is just by its end, it's supporting the cross member. So I'm going to have to let a piece of steel into there, weld that in, and then either build it up with weld on the top or let a piece of steel in. I think I'm going to have to let a piece of steel in there. This here can be welded, I think, but I run the massive risk of it pulling, so need to be a bit careful. I may actually cut another section out here and weld a piece in, sort of 1/2 inch wide or something, just to got a nice square piece in there that fits nicely so that it won't pull it all about too much. So I'm going to concentrate on getting this done first, and then if I weld along there first, and then up there, and then along there, I don't think we'll have too much trouble. So let's give that a go. Okay, so now we can see that I've welded up those bits now and ground it all back and polished it, so it's all nice and flat now. I've welded this gusset here into the back of this here, so we're all solid there now. And I've let a little piece of steel I cut out from here, I've let that in there and basically welded that to there. So this part of the crossmember, this part here, is still able to move, but not very much because it's kind of attached via these spot rods. So I've got it now jacked out, so it's slightly too far. And what I'm going to do now is put this piece in here. You can see, remember I cut a piece out. Where has it gone? It was here, never mind. I cut a piece out because this was all tatty along this edge here. So I've got a nice square edge and I can make a piece up now to fit in there nice and tight. And then I'm going to weld it in here. Then we can check that nothing's pulled, and as long as nothing's pulled, then we'll keep it clamped, weld this here, just on the end, check it again, make sure nothing's pulled, because you can get all this in here, lovely, weld that and it will just twist it round. So we have to be careful all the way. So every single weld I do, I check it with a straight edge along here, and I think we're getting there. So let's get that welded in and then we'll go from there. And there's that piece cut in, so just pop that out. You can see what we've done here. We've cut it so we've got a really nice close fit. I've also rebaited in here where the plate needs to sit. So yeah, that'll just sit in there like that. Oops, terrible camera work again. There we go. That'll just sit in there like that, and then we can weld it in. Now, let's go fight for that. There we go. Now the thing is with this, if you notice, I've left no gaps. I always like to weld a gap if I can, because it gets better penetration. You don't have to hang around so long, and you can use lower currents and stuff, which is less heat, i.e. less distortion. So, but here I don't want it to pull. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a bit of a chamfer on both parts, so that I get a bit of penetration like that. So let me get that done, and then I'll come back and show you how it looks. And there we go, guys, tacked in, and you can see that if I give you a close up, you can see we've got like a 45-degree angle all round. Okay, and over here I've just come over the large tack and basically filled in where the ends of those cuts were. And there, if you go back a few seconds, you'll see that there was some little slits there filled in there. So I've grind these tacks back now, and now what I'm going to do is weld along here first, and then along here. Then I'm going to take the clamp off and see what's happened. If anything's moved, because it may pivot around here when I weld this, so I might need to cut that tack. So I'll weld this first, weld along here, then check it all. And there we go. So happy with how that's come out. Weld it all down the back here, and then across here. And I've undone the clamp, and I've checked, and it actually pulled in about, I don't know, 0.5 millimetre on the end here. So that's a lot less than it was before. So what I've done now, I've actually pushed it beyond. So it's actually about 1 millimetre too much. And I'm going to weld down here and see what happens. In fact, no, I'll weld down here first, and then we'll see what happens. And so the story continues. So we got, basically I've got it this way up so I can show. I've just wedged the bottom, because obviously you can keep working on the top, but as long as the bottom's, you know, always trying to pull back in, then you may as well, you know, forget it. So I've just got a wedge in here in the chassis just to hold that in position with it straight. So basically, you know, I should be able to take that out and it stays pretty much straight. And then when I weld this, what I'll do is wedge it out the same, or jack it out the same, and then weld along here and job done. I don't want to do that now because I want to actually hammer this down. It's getting later in the evening, I don't want to make so much noise, so I'm going to pack up now for the night. But basically, there we go. So let's just take this pin out. There you go. You can see now that top's all done. So we've got the chassis still jacked out. And if I grab my straight edge, put it against there, you can see, I don't know if you can see, we've got a gap. Down here there's a gap where my thumb is. So I need to wind the jack in and see how it looks. Right, so you can see here we've got the jack completely off. There's the rose joint just sat there on its own. And I'll put the straight edge up, and you can see down here that we're actually done. So we've got a tiny little gap here, absolutely nothing, but basically that cross member is now straight. I don't know if you can see it if you look along it like this, but it's straight, and you can clearly see the other end. You can see where it's bent in. If I put the straight edge on here, this will help to show you just how much it's bent in by. Okay, there you go. So, great, eh? So there we go then, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Disclaimer time. I've basically shown you what I've done to make this work. My objective is to get the rear cross member straight and not have it bowed in at the ends. And I've made a couple of mistakes along the way, and I've shown you the mistakes I've made, and I've advised on what I think should be done if I was to do it again. So if you want to take that advice, take it, but if you hurt yourself, wreck your Land Rover, whatever, then don't come running to me because you've messed it up. I've proved by doing one side that it is possible, it can be done. It is a lot of work, and it takes a lot of tools and equipment and a bit of experience as well. So yeah, if you feel like you want to have a go, but don't blame me if it goes wrong. The other thing is, I wouldn't really recommend doing this with the body fitted. As a minimum, I would have the vehicle on axle stands or a ramp, preferably, and have the rear tub removed. Because basically, you know, you need to get access up here as a minimum. Underneath, you could probably just cut, you know, straight along and bend it out that way. But you do need access here, because you've got to do. The thing is, it's not just bowed like a banana. It's kind of straight across the middle. Then it goes a bit, then it goes a bit, and then it goes at the end. So if you want to get it nice and straight, you need to be able to cut it in, you know, sort of 2 or 3 places, or 3 or 4 places even, like I did. So there we are. Hope you enjoyed that. It's been a bit of an education for me. I know you like a video on a Friday, so I thought I'd get this one done and get it out. Don't know when the next one's going to be. I won't be doing this the weekend, I don't think, because of the noise, because the don't want to piss the neighbours off really. So there we go. I'll see you all soon. Oh, the parts have come now for the gearbox, so I'll be doing a rundown on the parts and where I got them from and everything, and what you should be looking at as a minimum if you're going to rebuild your gearbox. And then, as I say, in part 2 we'll get all that done and we'll finish building it as well. So see you all for that. Bye for now.